Good people, good people. We are excited and happy to have you here today. We're talking about a very, very good topic, very profound topic. We're talking about negotiations and tariffs and how to use these things as effective tools in your everyday lives, trying to get the big deal, like The Art of the Deal. Read that book, great book. But before I say any more, here we go.
Strong and wild, we rise up high. Conquer fears, won't let them reside. Heartbeats pound as we take the dive. Living now feels so alive. Heart steel veins glowing bright. Fitness gone in the dead of night. Dating game, we got the sight. Crushing finance, career out of sight. Man up now, we own it true. Breaking change, just me and you. Success stories everywhere. Living life beyond compare.
I don't know, Mr. Trump. I don't think the tariffs were enough. I think we were way too low, way too low. Not tall like my son, Baron. We need more tariffs. I wish I could do a fucking accent. And there I go, cursing before the first 10 minutes. Well, regardless, howdy, everybody. It's only been a couple weeks, and everything seems to be going haywire. It's been a very, very interesting time with everything that we've seen with the tariffs, and for those that may or may not know, I'm kind of a fan of the Trump party, and so it was very interesting to see with all the new tariffs that he was putting out, how with Mexico, Mexico caved in like 2 days. Or maybe not even a day. I think it was like 12 hours.
Yeah.
Where they were just like, no, okay, let's get to a different agreement. And then you had Canada, who was standing up and like, no, we're not doing this. This is ridiculous. We're going to counter tariff. And then they caved as well. It's been a very, very interesting time when you think about not just politics, but when you think about leadership.
And it's especially when you talk about leverage, right? Because it's like, I know exactly why Canada caved, because Canada, right? They're talking about especially how, hey, we have energy independence and we send all this oil and natural gas and fuel. But the thing is that their major pipeline that is based in the western side of Canada that goes to eastern Canada, they were going to build it as transcontinental across the middle of Canada, but the way that pipeline, when they came up for a review and proposal and everything, they decided that it was going to be far more, I guess, environmentally friendly to not build that direct pipeline. So guess where they have to pump their pipeline to get it from one side of their country to the other? Oh, America? They have to pump it through the U.S. Yeah. So that's definitely where, that leverage there, right? Where people are just like, oh, you're just throwing tariffs at Canada for no reason. It's like, well, no, you know the picture, your leverage. It's like, oh, here's something I can push. So it's a very effective negotiation tactic.
I find it super interesting that for some reason, and I know it's not just Trump, but for some reason, Trump's camp is so fine-tuned to understand exactly how to leverage everything. Because they know that by doing something like this, it's not drastic. It's not like 50%, but it's still strong enough. And with that, he knows that if he says that, then they're going to have to agree. And in those moments when you realize how much leverage you actually have in a situation, absolute game changer. I mean, I don't even get started when it comes to jobs and things like that as well. But it's really interesting. I've never seen a president do it like this.
Oh, because we never had one. We never had one that was business minded and wanted to put the economy and the American people at the forefront of the interest of the American people. Normally, except Reagan, all of our presidents since Reagan up until Trump have been career politicians. So they, a politician doesn't know anything about running a business. Most of them don't. Anyway, especially career politicians like our previous administration with Joe Biden, was his career. That's all he did his entire adult life was Washington, whether it be a senator, vice president, or president. So he never had the knowledge to be able to implement things like this. And Trump, being a billionaire businessman that doesn't rely on the president's salary or the donations that are going to come from speeches after this, he can put that aside and just be straight to business. And what I like about it now is this is his second term. In 2 years, he doesn't have to worry about campaigning. So he's got 4 years to get the job that he wants done.
Right.
The big takeaway is, you have to build a good team, right, around you that knows what leverage you have. So that way you can go in and say, and again, it's a pure power play, right? Like when you look at the tariffs that get announced like immediately, right? And it's like, hey, we're going to put a 15% tariff here or a 10% tariff over there. It's not exactly willy-nilly, right? It's to your point, Huds. Like it's a number that it's enough to make people like really pause and go, wait, hold on, let's talk. But it's also not enough as to where, you're basically saying like, hey, I'm coming in very strong and just going to punch you in the face, right? So, you want to, in any negotiation, right, you want to, one, do your extensive homework, right, and know exactly all the leverage that you have, as well as what the other side is dealing with and know what those cards are. But two, you want to do something that showcases like, hey, I'm showing you right now that I'm in a position of strength, but I also know enough to let you know that you're not seeing like my full strength and what I can fully do. So this is a taster just to set the tone, and then let's see where the real negotiation, where the real deal is, and where the real deal can be had without necessarily coming on as being like too overbearing or being completely unreasonable. So this is
perfect. It's that perfect middle ground is kind of how he's been approaching it. And I really want to like jump back for 1 second to what you were saying. He built a great team. So on day one, he was able to get done everything that he wanted to do right away. I think that he's done more in like the first few days of the administration than like Biden's done the entire time. Like quite honestly. And that's not just because I am a Republican. It's not because I'm conservative. It's just me looking at it objectively. And so it's very interesting how that happens, and it kind of makes me think of you guys too, because we all have different roles. I know with myself, like I do a lot of the dating coaching. What's up, D'Angelo? How you doing, brother? So I do a lot of the dating coaching. Josh, you do a lot of the lifestyle and some of the crypto investing. Kevin, you do a lot of the mentoring as well as the financial coaching. Like we all know our strengths. And when it comes to like doing thumbnails or doing stuff like this, we know that that's my strength. I can be creative in that way. So it's just interesting. When you go at something with the wrong team, it's going to fall apart. And clearly with the last administration, there was no cohesiveness in this team. I had no idea what was going on. But we saw from day one, this was like a military battalion ready to go. Boom, let's get in there and let's get the job done. And they did it.
And it's too, just a lot of it is the optics that, hey, there's motion, right? Because again, a lot of the executive orders, right? They're executive orders, but it still takes a while to like get put into law. There's still process and everything, but it's understanding that the optics of, hey, like I'm here, I'm back, right? It's new. I'm setting the tone very clear from day one that things are in motion, right? Momentum is being built, momentum is being pushed forward. And again, that's exactly what we're seeing here with a lot of the stuff where everybody's just, again, freaking out like, oh my gosh, like he's going to start a trade war and this. And it's like, well, understanding that it's an effective tool and a tool that can definitely be leveraged because, there are times where if you are the 1,100, the 500-pound gorilla in the room, there are some times where you have to like remind people, hey, I'm the 500-pound gorilla in the room. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I could not be so generous. I could not be so gracious, right? I'm very, very much like, you know, in the one that is as the final say or is like calling the shots. But at the same time, you know, you don't want to come off as that being, again, like unreasonably overbearing. So that way you start, you know, inspiring rebellion. Yeah, there's when you're number one, right? You're always going to have people that are gunning for that position. But you know, you still would like to be able to carry yourself in a way or an ability where, you know, you're not exactly inspiring like people to completely loathe you. But, you know, in the geopolitical sense, it's always going to happen no matter what. But, you know, I think what we're seeing here is again, just showcasing like, hey, we're still number one GDP, still number one military might, still the number one superpower in the world. Just reminding people like, hey, in case you guys forgot the last 4 years, no, we are the number one superpower. So if we want to throw our weight around and do what we want to do, we're going to do it. Right. But we don't want to be, you know, completely unreasonable, and we don't want to create a situation that's truly like terrible for everyone. Because, you know, there was a saying for a while that, you know, seemed to die the last 4 years, but seems like it's kind of coming back. You know, when America's number one in the world and is, you know, exercising and doing things for its interests, it really does make the world a much better place. And so, you know, I mean, we think we've seen that, you know, for when the end of the collapse of the Soviet Union, and then suddenly, you know, globalist trade routes were being able to be established because, oh, the U.S. was the one securing all the trade routes and protecting all the oceans just to make sure that they weren't getting raided or pirated or all this other stuff. So, you know, there is something to be said about that sentiment, which, you know, I think for the last 4 years, you know, it was kind of the inverse of that. But, you know, I think we're kind of swinging that pendulum a little bit back to it. So it's interesting to see how this is going to unfold. It's going to be, keep telling people, strap in. It's going to be an interesting 4 years. Very
I can't wait. And I wanted to ask you guys, and D'Angelo, yes, it finally is coming back. And it feels weird that we are even in a time where we have to say anything about it coming back. Doesn't make any sense. Like it should. Why did it have to go? Nonsense. I wanted to turn this on you guys because I know I had mentioned like Art of the Deal. I know Josh, you had mentioned it again earlier too as well when we're talking about like Trump's tactics. The Art of War. I love this book, and this book gives you a lot of dynamics to kind of understand, I guess, like social behavior and like how to outmaneuver opponents. And I find it absolutely fascinating. And I know that there's plenty of others, but Kevin, I actually wanted to turn it to you because I know that you do a lot of work with the reading of books and things like that. So I want to understand from your perspective, to develop a mindset like Trump and be able to conquer in the way that Trump has been able to. What would be some of those books you would recommend for guys to read if they want to level up in that area of life?
To level up in that area, I mean, there's so many out there. I would say one of the first ones, if you haven't read it, Dr. Green's No More Mr. Nice Guy. Start with that. You know, start with The Art of the Deal. I mean, if you're a member of us, you can go on Circle because I uploaded the PDF version of that. But there's several out there. So to put them in a way that, you know, read this one first, this one second, I really can't do that. But if you've never read the 48 Laws of Power, that would be one that I would definitely recommend you start with. And a lot of people are out there are going to say, oh, that's dark. It's that. And I didn't see that at all. The 48 Laws of Power, if you read it, understand it, and actually look at the way it was presented, that's a great book to learn if you go in it with the open mind. And there's a Bible version that I've got over here, which is about this thick, but they have a concise version as well that you can read, almost like the Art of War. What I like about Art of War is it's a very quick read, but the material, all the material in is gold. So if I had to pick a couple right off the bat, yeah, if you want to learn Trump's tactics, read The Art of the Deal if you've never read that. And if you ever questioned his stance in the world, read Why We Want You Rich. That Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki co-wrote that book, but they both line out in that book the importance of why financial freedom, especially in the United States, is so powerful. Because when you don't have to worry about paying bills and creditors always on your back, it opens up a lot of doors for you. So that would be a great one to read if you've already read The Art of the Deal. Why We Want You Rich is one that I would definitely read. I love that book.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely back that up. Especially the 48 Laws of Power and the Art of the Deal. Like, even if you hate Donald Trump, you can't stand the guy, right? Like, and by all means, we're not saying like, hey, you have to be super pro Trump or anything. Like, if you hate the guy, whatever. It's a great book with a lot of very, very good information in there. And if you read the book and you see a lot of what's going on now, a lot of it becomes very clear and makes a lot of sense. And very similar to with the 48 Laws of Power, where again, some people feel like, oh, it's a book about how to manipulate people. And it's like, actually, all it's doing is it's just outlining power dynamics that we're all participating in, whether you realize it or not. And it's not just, your business relationships, it's in your personal relationships too, where you suddenly start to see, oh, okay, yeah, this explains what happened with me and my friends, or between me and my parents, or me and my siblings, or whatnot. So, we're all working within these different frameworks. So these are just outlines that are great tools to help you understand what exactly is going on, but also too how you can incorporate some of the behind the scenes mechanics and leverage that for your own benefit, or to help you out with whatever it is that you're trying to do. Because there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of great ideas that can do a lot of good, but they're terrible negotiators. And so that's why they cannot be as effective or as helpful as they want to be. Especially a lot of people that are, a lot more on the creative side of the equation. A lot of people that are very creative are really, really, really bad, really terrible negotiators. So that's why you see so many artists that don't do so well, or, they pay out, or they get into really bad deals. It's interesting.
Oh, there was an attack on me? What was that all about? I think that's a great point. Go ahead, Kevin.
No, because a lot of people, when they read 48 Laws of Power, especially if you read it now, after the last maybe 10 years of wokeness and the softening, especially of men in society, it kind of resonates, like Josh said, oh, you're just trying to manipulate people. And it's actually not. It's not even close to that. But what you can take from that is when people are trying to manipulate you, that's when you can pick up on it faster, because you've read that book and you not only know the laws to implement them, but when you can tell faster when they're being implemented on you. And if you look at it at that kind of an angle, it will help you far more than just trying to learn the laws and how you can use that on other people, because people will try to do that to you. People will try to manipulate you. And one thing that, like I just mentioned, in the society we have now, you can't offend anybody. You're not supposed to call anybody by the wrong pronouns. And that kind of jumped off the diving board, because have you noticed now that Trump's president this time, the media doesn't really have a leg to stand on him to just try and trash the guy and everything he does, because people aren't listening to it anymore. People have started, like D'Angelo said earlier, common sense is starting to come back. If you don't like his tactics, that's fine. However, look at the end result he's trying to achieve, and fuck your feelings, for lack of a better term. Get your feelings out of it. Get emotions out of it. And, oh, I got offended. Like when he would tell a story and he would call a country or criminals in a country vermin, they missed his entire point. All they said, he called people vermin. He's a bad guy. We have to get away from that. Just like a woman said, I saw a great meme the other day, said, well, I realized 90% of the time my husband's right. I just don't like his tone.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? And so that's why I think, to D'Angelo's point, common sense is coming back, and then this wokeness and I'm always the victim mentality, especially from men, which is great, is going away, and it's about fucking time.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. And just for anybody who may not be aware, I'll go ahead and share it right now. Some of the 48 Laws of Power. So the number one thing, like if you're thinking career and you want to leverage yourself the best, never outshine the master. If you ever go ahead and make your boss look dumb, Or I mean, that's essentially what outshine means. But if you make your boss look dumb on purpose, you're kind of screwed. It's the number one rule for a reason. But you can understand why that makes sense. And when I think about politics and when we think about career politicians, I think about like the politics within corporate structure as well. You have to navigate a certain way so that you can still live your life comfortably without being so overwhelmed with expectations that may or may not exist. I think that's one of the biggest things that people don't realize is that a lot of the times you think that people are expecting things of you when they're not actually there. It's a lot of that anxiety trigger. But when you read through this book, actually, I have the 48 Laws of Power next to me, but I'm not gonna dig it out. I got a whole stack. But it really is fantastic. And as you go through each of them, they actually provide Robert Greene does a great job of providing examples from history that directly align to exactly what he's talking about and why it was successful at that time. And Trump does such a good job at navigating all of this. It like honestly, I've been blown away with what he's done so far. It really is it really is crazy. And like if you're just getting started somewhere, or if you've already read it again. And the reason why I say that is because when you internalize this information, oh my god, like everything just changes in your work life, personal life, your relationships. It really is. It's something else.
Because again, you're already participating in these power dynamics, whether you realize
Yeah.
it or not. So, using that rule, right? Never outshine the master. Like a lot of people forget that especially when they're early on in their careers, they really want to strive out and like make a name for themselves. But the big thing they don't realize is like, in what's the fastest speed you can drive in traffic, right? You can only drive as fast as the car ahead of you can drive. So if you're constantly tailgating that person behind you, hitting their bumper or doing whatever, they're not speeding up to accommodate you. They're going to slow down and be like, hey, what's this dude's problem? Or like, okay, you're in such a big hurry. I'm just going to slow down. And if you have an accident, then you both stop. So, understanding that pacing, but it's a power dynamic that you're already in, whether you realize it or not, whether you think, oh, I don't need to opt into that or participate in that. It's like, no, it's already there. So it's best to understand that structure so you can navigate it and again, make the most for whatever it is that you're trying to do in your objectives. And so, this is also super helpful when it comes to negotiations, right? Because you always want to negotiate from a position of strength, even if your position is objectively far worse, right? And one of the things in the art of the deal, whoever needs the other person least and can walk away from the deal, they're the ones with all the power, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where, again, you are in a position where if they have all the power because they can walk away from the deal at any point in time, you still have to approach it from a position of strength. So that way you can get the best deal out of it for yourself and for them, rather than they just completely walk away. And now, again, if you lose that deal, it's really bad for you. Or two, you just become a doormat and they just take absolutely everything that they want and leave absolutely nothing left for you.
It's been absolutely ridiculous. I can't do a Trump impression.
Fake news. Fake news.
Yeah, nobody can. That's what makes Trump, man. I guess
It's been absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I have some friends that can do some spot on. It's quite entertaining.
I know Mike Steele from the Dragons. He's got a pretty good.
He does have a good one. Yeah, we have to have Mike on sometime.
We should have had him intro this, but to keep the show moving for 48 Laws of Power, the way I recommend someone read that, especially if you've never read it. First of all, get the full book. Don't go with the concise version because it doesn't give those examples that Alex was talking about throughout history of ways, leaders, military leaders, people in business have used those, and they're none of them are modern. They're all from ancient times, really. Read one law a day, read everything twice, and write down parts that stick out to you, and then just keep it at that. So that way you just don't overload your brain with 7, 8, 10 laws a day, and it'll help you remember them better. So that if you want to read 48 Laws of Power, I recommend that's the way you should read it as a man. Read one law a day. I mean, it's only going to take you a month and a half, but it'll give you a better understanding of each law and actually make you ponder on it and kind of find ways that it relates to you and your life and how you can implement it in your life. So that's, as far as 48 Laws of Power goes, that's how I would do that. But
That's how I did it too. I actually listened to it on Audible, and what I did was on my drive to work every morning, I listened to a chapter or however much I could do, and then I would finish the rest out as I went home. But I did the exact thing that you just said, and it really did change a lot of things. And actually, like, I do need to go back and I need to listen to it. And I need to read through some of these things again because we always forget these things. These are not innate. They were not taught to us when we were young. This is societal structure. This isn't personal structure. That's the big difference. So when you know how to, so when you think about like the king on the chessboard, right? So the king on the chessboard, it can do the weakest moves. It can only move one space at a time. However, it is the most important piece in the game because if that piece goes down, you lose. I think we all understand that. Wow, my hair looks great today. I'm loving it. So when you think about that, how do you win then? If it's the weakest player and it can only move one space at a time and the queen can move as much as she wants, what the heck's going on here? It's because that's your, I'm trying to think about like the best analogy for it. But it really is your best tactician. You're the general of your own life. You need to understand that to be able to internalize some of that information and then go ahead and use it effectively in your own life. How do you win when you can only move one space at a time? It doesn't make any sense because you use everybody around you to get things done for you, right? It's a really weird concept that a lot of these books taught me to be able to I don't want to necessarily say get people to do things for me, but it's kind of like getting people to do things for you.
Well, it's just understanding your position and how to think moves ahead, right? Because that's what chess is all about. Chess is not about your current move. It's about the next 5, 6, 7, 8 moves ahead and the contingencies for what their moves might be, which can impact the moves that you're trying to do. And so it's very much, hey, I want to be CEO of my company one day. Well, you can't just be like, well, I'm just going to work hard and just willy-nilly my way into it. Like, no, you have to have a plan of, okay, if I'm going to be, first I should probably be vice president before I be CEO. But in order to be vice president, I need to be here. I need to be there. That means that, hey, I need to do really well on this project. I need to, have really good, strong relationships with these guys on this team who are related to the guys on the board, who then would get to know me. So that way I can be put in line and put in that position. So the beauty of the game chess and like 48 Laws of Power and a lot of stuff we're talking about here today is it really comes down to positioning, right? How do you best position yourself in order to accomplish what your objective is? But the underlying assumption is that you know what your objective is. So, again, these are all really great tools, but if you don't have an endpoint or an end goal in mind, then you're just roaming around kind of lost and you're not going to know how to be as effective with these as possible. So in chess, right, the objective is you've got to box in your other opponent into a position where no matter what they do, they cannot win, right? Which if you really think about it, it's the only game to that extent of total domination, right? Like all other games you play, it's I see the Trump hands going. I love it.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I was on mute, but I'm not doing it. No, Yu-Gi-Oh. I play Yu-Gi-Oh all the time. Yu-Gi-Oh is all about boxing in the opponent.
Yeah.
So don't even get me started. You're wrong. Wrong. Fake news. Fake news.
But now I want to elaborate on that, Josh, because you brought up a great point, and I think that's what Trump and his administration is doing right now of thinking 3 moves ahead. Does he impose these tariffs because it's going to bring in billions of dollars to the American economy? No. But he threatened it or was getting ready to implement it with Mexico because Mexico was starting to not cooperate with closing our border. So, okay, if that's the way you want to play it.
She was soft. Softest president they've ever had. She was weak, and
But
she
she
had
tried.
to fall in line.
But after only a couple of hours, when there was some closed door talks that, okay, what is these tariffs that we're going to impose actually going to do to your economy? Because it doesn't hurt our economy. It actually helps our economy. From everything that comes from Mexico to Texas or Mexico to California is going to have a tax on it. Or do you want to start cooperating with our mission of shutting down the borders to stop illegal immigration, fentanyl, and other things? The way you can do that, put 10,000 of your troops on your side of the border and assist us in that. That's what they did. Same thing with Canada. So it's Trump wasn't thinking tariffs. I can impose tariffs because we're going to make so much money on these imports and exports. No, he was thinking I can do this to get the cooperation that I require for the United States to finally secure our borders. And it's working. So that's where the chess analogy comes into play right there. Instead of just being a dictator and saying, okay, we're going to, tax 25% of everything that comes into our country that was made in your country. No, he did that.
There's a reason behind it. Everybody seems to think that it's like, oh, he just hates Canada. He hates Mexico. He hates all these other countries. No, there's a strategy behind it because you have to think about everything holistically, not just granular. And everybody kind of tends to think, I mean, it's natural to think about things granular. And that's what had been occurring.
Yeah, like especially in the geopolitical spectrum, right? Where again, it's like the U.S. decisions we make has a reverberation and impact worldwide and everywhere, right? So when you have to look at that thing at the macro level, it's like, okay, what are the implications of a decision at any given point, and how does that ripple across everywhere? So yeah, a lot of these decisions, again, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, this is just complete idiocy. It's like, well, if you see things from a much higher holistic perspective and you see how everything looks on the chessboard, all the pieces, yeah, it may seem like a weird move that he's sending his knight out over in this direction when all the action's happening over here. But that's because he's working on several other maneuvers to, put you in a box over here. So that way, that knight now suddenly becomes a blockade where you cross this line. It's helping me box you in so I can win the chess game. So looking at things from that macro perspective to see, okay, here's how all of it fits together. Which it's going to be really interesting because, there's different parts of the world have different impacts and different implications. So,
are we going into Yu-Gi-Oh right now? It's the same entire thing. Like this game. Well, this is a custom thing that I got made. Toon World, if anybody knows, with the Toon monsters from the original season, but it is that is a beautiful piece of art that guy made for me. It's the same type of thing, and it's so annoying nowadays. I mean, I still love Yu-Gi-Oh to death. I'll be honest. In the same way I love Legos, but with Yu-Gi-Oh, it's the same type of thing. It's all about blocking out your opponent, and so when you're like, dude, I love. There's so much satisfaction when you purposefully do something in Yu-Gi-Oh and you waste a card because they think that you're going a certain direction, you don't have anything else left, and then boom, afterwards you go ahead and shut down their entire thing and they just quit on you. I absolutely love it. It's exactly what you're saying, Josh. It's all about making sure that you're making the right moves at the right time. Now, certain things that may be going on in the world, yes, they are important, but they may not be the most important. So if we focus on the things that are most important and we fortify with whatever that means, it doesn't necessarily mean fortify borders, but it means like fortify whatever that area is, then we are better equipped to deal with some of the larger problems that are going on.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to use like either the carrot or the stick, right? You have to know who you're negotiating with, right? And what's motivating them, right? And so sometimes they're coming at it from a position of like, hey, they're trying to take all the advantage. So you got to use a bit of the stick where it's like, hey, look, this is where the line is. We're not crossing it. Here are my terms, right? Or it's, hey, the carrot works a lot better. It's like, look, we don't need to go the hardball route, whatever. you want to make money, I want to make money, or whatever it is, right? Where's the middle ground, right? And this is especially like, when you're talking to employers, right? You want to be a lot more on the carrot side of the equation, where it's like, look, you don't really love me. You love the value I bring to the company and the money I'm capable of making the company. So in exchange for that value I'm going to bring, right? How about a little signing bonus of, an extra 10K or whatever? So that way, again, it's a true win-win. And then, we're good to go here. So again, you have to understand who you're negotiating with, right? What their side, what it is that they want, what they're after, what their drivers and motivators are. So you can understand exactly, okay, how do we navigate this? Because again, the best deals are always a true win-win scenario where everybody's winning on something, right? Or on some front, and everybody can be satisfied with something. But there are certain times where it's like, hey, look, where you have to draw a hard line, or, hey, this is something that I got to push through for yourself. So you got to be willing to play hardball. But again, whoever can walk away from any deal, right, they're the ones with all the power. So, throwing a tariff on something, that's a version of saying like, all right, cool, we can kind of walk away if we need to. Or, all right, well, if you don't want to hear us out or are interesting, we can make things more difficult than we need to. We don't really want to do it, but hey, we have the capability to.
Yeah, you're making us do it. And that's I wish more of our elected leaders would have that mindset of, okay, yes, we want to help other countries. We want to improve the quality of life, not only in just in America, but on earth, but there has to be something in it for us. And, something we were talking about in pre-show that was on the news today is the USAID, which is a governmental organization that supposedly provides food, shelter, all these things for third world countries and developing countries. However, just in one day of an audit where Marco Rubio, of course, Elon Musk, because that's what his department is doing now. Here's what they found, guys. And as Americans, here's where our taxpayers are going. 1.5 million to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's
Whoa, hold on. You're reading something. Could you share it?
I can.
I would love to read this along with you, because when you said this to me earlier, I was like, oh my God, this ain't real.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Now, 1.5 million, that doesn't seem like a lot, but this is only one organization. Okay, let's go down the list here. Another 70,000 that they were granted and awarded for production of a DEI musical in Ireland. Now, I was in Ireland last August. At least in Dublin, they don't give a fuck about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So 70,000 to produce a musical to present to them. Okay, make that make sense to me. $2.5 million of taxpayer dollars for electric vehicles in Vietnam.
No. We're America. Where do you? What?
Well, apparently they've got to get green over there as well. My first thing is electric vehicles. I got that. I don't know much about Vietnam's infrastructure, but something tells me that they don't have the best electrical grid to support. How many Teslas would that buy? How many little Chevy,
Right.
So not just vehicles, 47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia.
Well, that sounds like fun. You want to go?
But I mean, and I know these are small numbers, especially compared to the American budget, but these are taxpayer dollars that are funding this stuff. So that money that gets pulled out of your check.
What? No. Hold on. No, Kevin, you got to step back. So you're telling me that I pay taxes every year, but I'm also paying taxes on this too?
Yeah. Well, just look at it this way. Okay. Government money. The government doesn't work. The government doesn't earn money. Anything that our government pays for is taxpayer dollars. That's why we pay our taxes. And it goes to shit like this.
Sometimes, right? But, in reality, whenever especially the federal government, right, when they want to spend any type of money, what do? They issue a treasury bond. And who buys a treasury bond? The U.S. the Federal Reserve does. So they technically don't need our tax money. But, it's nice to just do it, just to say, hey, you're doing your fair share.
Yeah, but always know this. Anytime they say government funded, always replace government with taxpayer funded, because it always is. And a lot of people don't understand that. You know, I work for a corporation, but believe it or not, I'm taxpayer paid because we do government contracts. The government pays my company from taxpayer dollars, which pays me. So taxpayers' dollars actually pay my salary.
Pay your salary. Okay.
They pay my salary. I mean,
Don't
and
tell me this.
when you think about it like that, but then you find out, you know, $2 million is going for sex change and LGBT activism.
All right, hold on, Kevin. Kevin, I want to play a game here. I want you to read me rapid fire each one of these, and I want to give you the justification.
Okay, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt.
Yes, I mean, I actually did just buy the Pyramid of Giza Lego set. So I do very much appreciate the ancient history that we do have. So I think that it's very important that we stay connected with such an ancient culture.
And you know what? I can agree with that. But why do we give another country $6 million to fund tourism when we buy the plane tickets, we buy the tours of these pyramids, we buy the hotel?
Because who the hell do you think is getting the discounts on those tickets?
What are they trying to do? Make the hotels nicer? Okay, hundreds of thousands of dollars for nonprofit linked to designated terrorist organizations, even after an inspector general launched an investigation.
Well, you see, we don't always know. We don't always know if they're terrorist organizations. We just know they're nonprofits and they have a good message. It's kind of like putting money into a meme coin. You know what I mean? Where you don't know, but it could be great. But a lot of times it just collapses and the money is going into a black hole. So, like, it's just one of those risks that is necessary for us to evolve.
Okay. Well, I disagree with that risk, especially with my taxpayer dollars. So let's try this one.
Wait, so do you pay yourself?
Millions.
That's the real question.
What's that?
That's what I want to know. So yeah, that's right. Because you pay taxes, but you also. So do you really pay yourself? Are you working at like?
I guess in a sense, you know, when I was active duty military, that was kind of the big joke. We paid federal taxes on our income in the United States military, which taxpayer dollars pay for our salary. So yeah, I guess my taxes
pay for yourself. All right,
yeah,
hey, you're paying your own way, bro. You're paying your own way.
But millions of dollars to EcoHealth Alliance, which was involved in research at the Wuhan lab. And if you've been on the planet for more than a year, you know, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, it's been proven the Wuhan lab is where COVID-19 originated. That's where it was released from, and it spread through the world. That caused chaos for 2.5 years. But we'll go ahead and give them millions to keep doing what they do, because they do.
Hold on. China, great country. China, they have never officially stated that it came from the Wuhan lab. So not confirmed. Might be real, but not confirmed.
I mean,
you're right. I probably saw fake news. That's what I saw on that.
But I guess if anyone like needs millions of dollars in upgrades to make sure nothing gets out again, maybe I could support that.
Yeah. Let's maybe we're actually trying to fix a problem. All right, give me the next one. Let's go. I'm not even reading it anymore. I'm just insane.
We're on short of time. I want to get to the last one.
Okay.
Hundreds of millions of dollars makes all the ones above look like chump change to fund irrigation canals, farming equipment, even fertilizer used to support the unprecedented poppy, not the poppy that you get on your bagel, the poppy seeds to produce heroin in Afghanistan that benefits the Taliban.
Well, you see, Kevin. Oh God, I'm so bad at this accent. Well, you see, Kevin, what you're missing here, and it is the greatest. It is the greatest, overall the greatest. Water. When you think about, what is it, the law of threes, you can go 3 minutes without breathing. You can go 3 minutes without breathing, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. So, Kevin, you could argue that we are keeping that area refreshed and healthy so that they can continue to sustain their life.
Well, you don't get high on your own supply, so
exactly
that's their supply, right?
Yeah. Like it says right there, the list literally goes on, but this is only one organization, and that's why, call them whatever you want. I'm glad that we've got someone that's not a politician like Elon Musk running Doge.
Dude,
To
I don't know
actually go in there
though. I don't know
farm.
though. If you've been looking at like how he's been handling some of the things, I don't know. I think he's a
It's
little
like
too
Trump.
much.
I don't have to agree with everything he does, and I don't really have to like the guy to know that he's doing something that's in the best interest of America. I would say that, because even Trump, even during his first administration, even though I voted for the guy, some of the wild shit that he would say, I'm like, bro, come on, man, you really got to dial it back. So I didn't agree with
Big
everything
news.
he did, but I know my life was better. My quality of life was better from 2016 to 2020 than it was from 2021 to 2024. And that's what I don't understand about some people is, or majority of people is, okay, we don't like the guy because he calls people names and he does, but my electric bill was lower, gas was lower. I wasn't hurting for money as much, but the guy, I don't like his tone type scenario that
Dude, I have to say that. I have to stop you right there. Every single time that I talk to somebody who does not like Trump, that's the exact thing that they say. They say, I just don't like his tone. But what do you not like about the message? Well, I can't hear the message because I don't like his tone.
Yeah, they involve emotion, and they let that take over and dilute the message that's being trying to put off. But I will say, like for this whole show, with the tariffs, you're always going to have the left coming up saying, okay, what's going to get passed on to the consumer, which it won't. It's going to create a trade war, which is fear mongering. Nobody know, the masses don't even know what a trade war is. It's going to create, like with this bullshit organization, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die in third world countries because they're not getting their $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru.
Whoa, 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 whoa. We got to back up there. I thought that one was kind of important.
Oh, Marvel's out of ideas, so we got to have something fun, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We see where they're at because they went woke. Look at their profits, or lack thereof, I should say.
But
that's why I'm glad we're moving on. Or common sense, like D'Angelo said, is it wasn't so common, but now it's coming back.
Well, it's definitely going to be interesting for sure, and especially with the whole announcement around Gaza that was just made. Like it's going to be really interesting to see where this all goes and what happens and comes of it. So the big important thing though is that for you guys, if you're watching this, is especially if you tend to get offended by any of the headlines or any of the other stuff, take a look and really see, ask yourself, okay, if I was running the world and I was in the number one position in the world and all these different things were going on and I could have an impact on, and I'm having an impact on that, how exactly can this potentially play out, right? So try and take that sort of perspective on things. That will help one make sense of, okay, why things are being said or done the way that they're being doing, but also too, what the potential outcomes could be, because some could be very exciting, some could be pretty catastrophic, right? But trying to see what exactly the potential outcomes are and what that drives and what that shifts towards, it's a very fun exercise, because when you do this in something that's so far above all of our pay grades, right? Even though I have some presidents I have some presidents I'd never want to be president myself. Can't judge, because it's literally I missed an email, I can't sleep at night, right? Because I'm I didn't get to that person and couldn't be able to. Any decision I make literally can impact everybody in the world in a positive or negative way. That amount of pressure or stress, it's quite insane and monumental. But being able to take a look at, okay, these are the types of tactics that are being used. These are the types of power plays that are being made in order to facilitate. Because again, everything is not a straightforward deal, especially in the world of geopolitics, right? You can't say hey, I'm going to do this deal over here with this country without thinking about every other country that is immediately surrounding in that region, as well as if it's, some type of trade route, right? Every other country that stuff has to go through or flow through, or other different relationships, right? So you're constantly having to figure out and see like, okay, here's the end goal I want to get to with this person over here, but here's all the other factors that are at play. And here's where things could go great. Here's where things could go really terrible. How do I structure and navigate this best to, we can get what we want, but we can also make sure that we're keeping the broader ecosystem still intact, still functioning, and still moving along. So if you can start to think of things in that level or in that way, that's going to significantly improve your own personal ability to not only navigate your personal and professional relationships, but also you can start to see that when people are coming to you with different things or ideas or deals or whatnot, how that whole ecosystem, that impact will be and what it will look like. So you can see if it really is going to be the best absolute, deal for yourself, or where, there are levers that you can push and pull and twist in order to, make things more favorable for your terms.
No, it's a great point, and it really is crazy when you can see the entire chessboard. Like, I mean, heck, that's why I enjoy spending some time gambling, is because I know the odds are against me. Because when I do every other type of game, Yu-Gi-Oh, as I was sharing, if you see everything, it becomes boring because you just counterplay them left and right. And it's just like they just end up quitting. So it's really important to understand what that entire chessboard looks like. And I think that Trump right now is a phenomenal example of being a stoic, and he's being stoic, and he's being a dominant masculine presence in how he's doing everything. Like, there's nothing that's going to shift him. There's nothing that's going to shift him on how he's doing things. And even if he's getting knocked, I mean, heck, I was like looking at some of the stuff, and I'm still trying to keep track. Where Marco Rubio said something earlier today about putting some of our prisoners in Colombia. Then he backtracked it. And then President Trump came right back and was like, we're not backtracking it. This is exactly how it needs to go. If they are criminals, they shouldn't be here. If they're willing to take it for the small fee, it's much less expensive than what we have here. It's so interesting to see that. And that's when when we talk about like 4D chess. When you can actually see the entire board, then you can go ahead and make sure you're positioned so that no matter what your opponent does, you still win. And that's what he's doing right now. And I think that that's exemplary for everybody to pay attention to. Because if you want to be successful for the rest of your life, you're gonna have to learn this at some point. And everybody has varying degrees of skill at it. But when you get it down pat, the world is your oyster.
No, definitely agree. And again, it's important too to do your research, have a good team that's around you, because again, that just becomes a force multiplier for what it is that you can do, as well as like know the field. And again, before you leap in and criticize on people, just again understand that these people all have teams of experts that have access to far more information and intel than anybody else at the regular civilian level could ever possibly have. So this stuff isn't done willy-nilly. It is definitely calculated. Yes, somebody may say something that's a little bit out of pocket or seemingly off the cuff, but even then, sometimes, right, appearing to be spontaneous can be a very good diversion tactic. But if you read the 48 laws of power, right, one of the laws is always be unpredictable, because the second everyone feels that you're predictable is the second they feel they have advantage or leverage over you.
Yeah, it's the moment that they feel that you're controllable.
Yeah. I would definitely say that. What we've talked about tonight, we started with the tariffs because that was a big media talking point. We've discussed how it actually has worked out, that it wasn't just a dictator move that Trump was using to punish other countries. He was using it to benefit not only us, but the countries involved as well. And that's a great way to go about your everyday life, no matter where you are in life, no matter how far up a ladder or how far you can fall. When you stay 2, 3, 4 moves ahead, like every man should, then you have a peace of mind that everything's not going to hurt you. Everything's not going to kill you. Nothing's going to be the end of the world. You're never going to hit rock bottom. And as men, that's a great place to be in, because we have a very big burden as providers, protectors, provisioners, all that. So any weight you can take off your shoulders is going to be not only good for your mental health, but your lifestyle in general. And that's what, that's what we have in Men of Now too, because men don't have outlets. A lot of men don't have a shoulder to talk to. I'm not going to say a shoulder to cry on, but when you're a part of a group of men, not only like-minded, but men that come from all different stages of life and all different walks of career, that you have a network to rely on, to get advice, to share advice, to ask questions. Believe it or not, it really only helps you. There's no way being a part of a fraternity, if that's what you want to call it, will ever be a negative in your life.
Right. Yeah, and I saw that in college myself, and I've just been seeing it throughout the rest of my life. But I want to leave you guys with is kind of what we're talking about, Men of Now. Now, this community is absolutely fantastic. I am so blessed to be by the sides of both Josh and Kevin here, as we're navigating it. Because what does Men of Now really mean? Well, Men of Now is living in the now. We are men living with what today is, and how do you be the best version possible? Oh, I just realized I got this other crap up. Yeah, whatever. You got multiple windows down there. But if you guys go to that link, you can go ahead and sign up. What we do from there, this is when you think about some of the other men's groups in the space, it tends to be a lot of fluff sometimes, I would so to say. I know that certain groups, like when we think of the Dragons membership, absolutely fantastic group of guys over there. When we think about Beer Club with Paul Bauer of Come On Man podcast, absolutely fantastic over there. But there's a lot of fluff groups. And with our group, we really try and focus down and get you where you need to go. It's all about that camaraderie, having that right team, because as Josh, as you were saying, without the right team, you can't succeed. And that's essentially what Men of Now is. It's like, okay, so maybe I don't know how to do underwater basket weaving in the Pacific Ocean on a Thursday afternoon in the like, I don't know. You just throw any type of variable, but we will always have somebody that can give you that information. And that's what's so important. So whenever you have blind spots, or whenever you think you may have blind spots, well, you can get that information resolved. And yeah, guys, I love this concept. I think that we kind of talked it at high level. This may be a good one that we talk internally with the members on, because I want to get a little bit more granular on some of these things, especially with some of the laws of power. And then I want to talk about Art of War as well. I think that those types of things are absolutely fantastic for guys to pick up. I also have, personally, I have the Daily Stoic next to my bed. And so I just read that every single day. Even if it's just repetitive information, it's a reminder. And once you figure out how this game of life works, you can kind of navigate it however you want. And that's what's really, really cool about that's the moment that I think you truly become a man. And that's what I think is really cool about this self-development journey that we're all going on.
Yeah, very well said. And yeah, definitely encourage you guys, check out the site, sign up, or, sign up on the interest list. We'll have a quick chat with you, see if it's a good fit. Because again, hey, if it's not the right fit, then we want to help you find the group that is going to be the good fit for you, right? So, we're all about helping people out, but again, the right team. And sometimes people are going at 100 miles an hour. Some people are moving at 200 miles an hour. So, it's all about figuring out that sort of right pacing and everything. But hey, we always appreciate the support and the interest. So, you know, the guys that do watch the channel don't think we don't notice. So big shout out and thank you to you guys.
Yeah, and gotta say,
Appreciate you.
like, comment, subscribe. If you've got a topic you'd like to see us discuss or even be a part of the show, leave it in the comments. We will get back with you.
Sounds perfect. Well, okay, guys. Until next week. Awesome discussion. Have a great one.